Alrighty, man. Welcome back to the Are You Strong show. I don't think, and this is my 124th episode. I don't think I've been more excited for any of my episodes more than this one. And I'm not even going to say this young man's name, but first thing I want to say is he's a Maine black bear, which loving that. But I'm going to read off some of his accolades, and this is going to take a little bit. And for those that are watching, I'm going to read off some stuff, and then I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to play a little video, and then we're really going to get a lot of cool things happening. Okay, but let me just get the screen shared up just so it's queued up. Okay. But so I'm going to start at the top. And currently, he's a punter for the University of Maine, a kicker. And he was a 4-year punter at the University of Maryland in the Big Ten. Played in 32 career games at Maryland, which is pretty cool. 80 punts for 3,372 yards, 42.1 average, which is really good. 31 punts inside the 20, 16 punts of 50 yards plus. But he graduated and he transferred to Stony Brook, where he played football there. He's currently the punter at University of Maine. But outside of his academics, I'm sorry, his athletics. Let's talk about his academics. All Big Ten, academic, two-time Big Ten distinguished scholar, graduated from University of Maryland from the Robert H. Smith School of Business, got his MBA at Stony Brook, and he's currently getting a graduate degree at University of Maine. But listen to these awards. He was on the watch list for the Werfel Trophy, which is a national award for recognizing community service and leadership. He won the James Keogh Turp Award, honoring outstanding contributions to the Maryland athletic community. He was Big Ten Sportsmanship award to athletes demonstrating respect, integrity, and fairness. He was the SAC executive board member at Maryland, serving the student affairs, liaison. He won the John H. Randolph Inspiration Award, given to student athletes who demonstrate outstanding courage, leadership, and inspiration. He won the David Alexander Courage Award at Stony Brook for perseverance, bravery, inspiration to others during his, and I'm going to say it here, cancer journey. And he's the founder and leader of the Team Impact chapter at Stony Brook, Team Impact chapter leader at Maryland, Stony Brook, and Maine. He helped three teams match with three children battling serious illness. He's the creator of the Healthy Minds, a student athlete and mental health platform, which is incredible. Public advocate for resilience, vulnerability, and those seeking support. He uses his story to inspire young patients, families, and athletes nationwide. And I'm just going to hit the play button for those that are listening and watching. This is about a 7-minute video, which is probably one of the most inspirational, emotional videos you're going to watch and listen to. But I'm going to play it, and then we're going to bring this young man on the show.
Good, clap it, and then I'll read it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I always love those. Okay, so we'll just kind of start here. Can you share your story of when you were diagnosed with Burkitt lymphoma?
Ooh, where do you want me to start? Because this is a crazy story.
Start from the beginning.
Okay.
Anthony Pecorella's story began like any other student athlete, chasing dreams, focused on football, until one morning changed everything.
I was getting ready to graduate from the University of Maryland and woke up and I looked in the mirror and I had a golf ball sized tonsil. And I'm thinking, maybe I had a bad reaction to something. Maybe it was just, I don't know. I graduated the next week, packed up all my stuff and moved into Stony Brook within the next week. And so in order to play college sports, though, you need your annual physical. So I went to see a doctor, not my primary care doctor, was someone else in the office, and he saw the tonsil and goes, "Does it bother you?" I said, "No." He goes, "Okay, don't worry about it." Okay, I was 22, just going to a new school. The last thing on my mind was that I had an illness.
Like many college athletes, Anthony brushed it off, but his mom wouldn't let it go. She pushed for another appointment, and that persistence changed everything.
We went back to my primary care, and she goes, "Well, there's this other guy, Dr. Kakani, go see him." We were in the room maybe 5 minutes, and he looked at it and he goes, "Yeah, that has to come out." On July 20th, I went in for a tonsillectomy, and then July 26th, I get a phone call from Dr. Kakani, said, oh, I got the results back, come to my office.
At just 22 years old, Anthony heard the words no one ever expects to hear.
He goes, I have good news and bad news. I go, okay, obviously you ask for the bad news first, hoping that the good news will fix it all. And he goes, you have lymphoma. And it kind of takes you a second to process that lymphoma cancer. And I'm sitting there going, no, not me. What? I'm a healthy kid, take care of my body, but why me? So I kind of said, and I'm a wise guy, I go, what could possibly be the good news? He goes, well, if you went to a grocery store and you picked out which cancer you wanted, this is the one you want because you're young and healthy and you could beat it.
Treatment tested him in every way, physically, mentally, emotionally. But through it all, he never lost his sense of perspective.
I don't sweat little things really anymore. Bad grade on a test or a bad practice or like drama with a friend group or something. Like it's just the little things like that don't really bother me anymore because of what I experienced. It's something I always tap into with football because my position as a punter, you get one shot. But I've learned to have more of a short-term memory with stuff like that because in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter as much as what I went through for those 4 or 5 months in Wheal Cornell? No. So I think it's not only made me a better athlete, but a better person.
What started as an internship soon became a lifeline. Team Impact gave him purpose and perspective in the middle of his fight.
Not only did it open my eyes in a life perspective, but I had found such a newfound love for Team Impact. So I understood what the mission and the passion behind Team Impact was before I got sick, but I really had a deeper love and connection with it because I've seen it from both sides now. Like I've been the student athlete on top of his game, giving a kid the opportunity to be a part of something bigger than themselves, where then you flip the script and I'm that kid with the diagnosis and I'm relying on my teammates to kind of pick me up.
In the hospital, he met a little girl named Ellie, a fighter with a lesson that would change his life.
She was 3 when I met her. She was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia at the age of 1, beat it. And then when I got diagnosed, she relapsed. And so we were on the floor at the same time. Her mom started an Instagram page about Ellie's story. And the page was called Just Keep Swimming. And I was like from Finding Nemo? And I go, yeah. I go, why? She goes, because no matter how deep of water you're in, you can always keep swimming. And eventually you'll get to shore and eventually you'll get back to your way. Ellie passed away in April of 2024. One of my nurses called me from the hospital and I was heartbroken. I felt more disheartened in that moment than I did any point during my treatment because I just thought, like, why her? Like, why not me and why her? As the weeks went on and they had Ellie's service and I got to see her parents, I told her that as long as my story's alive, so is your daughter's.
From the locker room to the hospital floor, Anthony found strength in the smiles of others and a mission that will last long after football.
Kids are the most resilient people on the planet. They go through, especially kids that were matched with a Team Impact, they go through hell on a day-to-day basis. But they do it with this smile on their face. When I started working at Team Impact and I met Cal, who was diagnosed with JDM at the age of 5, there's no cure, but you would never know if anything was wrong with this kid. Always has a smile on his face, always happy. And then Milo, who's diagnosed with spina bifida, smile, happy kid. Ellie, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, smile. We can learn a lot from these kids. As much as we're impacting them, we are so much more impacted by the matches that they don't even know it because these kids are real life superheroes. I don't know who I'd be without Team Impact. And it's crazy to say because when I joined, I did it just as any college kid would, just to have an internship on their resume. And when you really get into the nitty-gritty and essence of Team Impact, this isn't just some other foundation where we make kids smile. Like, this is real life development into better versions of yourself, both on a athlete level, student level, and just an overall human being. And I truly don't know who I'd be and how I would have handled cancer, how I would have handled my mental health stuff if I had not joined Team Impact.
There you go.
Crazy, right? Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thank you, Mr. Durr. Thank you.
That's emotional as hell.
Yeah. And it's funny, every time I watch it, it still gets me. Because there's a lot of times you kind of, I guess you get so caught up in life, you kind of forget things that happened to you along the way. And like that whole chapter of my life is 2 years ago. And it still feels like yesterday, everything I experienced, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it.
Yeah,
Um, but like I said in the video, I feel like I'm a better person because of what I experienced. I mean, I wouldn't wish that would have happened to me on my worst enemy, but I also wish that the life lessons I learned during that time, that everyone gets the chance to experience that in another way. Obviously, not in that way,
yeah,
but
yeah. Well, listen, I mean, I don't even know where to go, what to say, right? I have a ton of questions to ask you, but you're the superhero, you know, what you're doing. It's incredible. So, why don't we, before I hit you with a ton of questions,
okay.
you know, that video was just holy crap, crazy. But let the audience know just a little bit about you, the young man.
So my name is Anthony Pecorella. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Malvern, New York. It's a small town in Nassau County, Long Island. Graduated Shamrock High School 29 June of 2019. Enrolled in the University of Maryland. Was fortunate enough to play 3 seasons there. I was there for 4 years. Played 3 seasons. Was the opportunity of a lifetime to play in the Big Ten. Something I'll cherish forever. Once my time there was done, got my degree in finance. Wanted to come back home to Long Island and play football at Stony Brook. Uh, Unfortunately, I never got the chance to due to the fact that on July 26, 2023, I was diagnosed with Burkitt lymphoma, which is a rare and aggressive form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Uh, and after that, I went through treatment and then recovery. And by that time, I was getting my MBA through all of that and graduated from Stony Brook in December of 2024. And then I went on to the University of Maine, played this past season, and actually our first game against Liberty was the first time in over 1,000 days that I got to play football again. And it was a moment that, although we didn't win the game, and it's something that I deeply cherished in the moment I had with my family after the game, just all that long nights and early mornings of treatment, hospital visits, scans, really made it all worth it. And it's a moment I'll cherish forever. This season I'll cherish forever. To be honest, I didn't know if it was my last one I'd ever get the chance to play football again. And then, thank all glory to God, the NCAA blessed me with another year, 8 years of college. But we'll kind of get into that
Yeah.
whole story. But yeah, as far as I've gone in life, I'd never forget where I'm from. I'm proud to be from Long Island. We live, as we say in Long Island, we live on Long Island. We don't live in Long Island. But something that I'm proud to be, and I'm just very thankful to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you, and I'm honored to be able to tell your story and share it with. I hope this goes super viral, and the world hears it and sees it, because I don't even. I saw you somewhere. It was some social media platform that video
Mhm.
that we just watched was posted, and I was just like, holy shit. That's all I said. I'm like, I have to reach out to this young man. I got to get him on here. And what helped is you're a black bear.
Yes, sir.
So I had a little connection there. I'm like, hope that string will be pulled pretty good, and we'll make that work. But so I want this to be about you, and it's not just football anymore, even though it's cool.
Hmm.
You know, it's about these kids you're helping. It's about what you have overcome and who you've become. And I want my first question I want to ask you, which is just a stupid one, but I don't know why it's in my head, is your freshman year, your first kickoff, then the kickoff this year.
Hmm.
your first kickoff in, what'd you say, over 1,000 days?
Yeah.
What was the difference like? What was the feeling like? What was the emotion like? Was it like a surreal moment?
So so I'm a punter at first, and then the kickoff thing is something I just started doing again this year. I hadn't done since high school, but just from like my first punt. So my first punt my freshman year, we're playing against Howard. It was the first drive of the game, and I remember going out there, and the only thing going through my head was, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Because you play, I mean, you dream about that moment your whole life,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Those college snap, what's it going to be? How's it going to go? And all I'm worried about is this is your first. You only get one shot at making first impression, and I was blessed that it was a punt that they downed at the 5 yard line. And I said, you know what? Like I feel like I belong. If I could do this on my first punt, I know I could make it here. And fast forward to this August, hadn't played in over 1,000 days. In fact, like the last snap I had when I was at the University of Maryland was November 11th or November 11th, 2022. And then I didn't take another snap until August 30th, 2025. So as much as football has always been a part of my life, and once I got back to playing, it was like riding a bike. That first punt I had, you have all the confidence in the world in yourself, but also this kind of self doubt. Can I still do this? Like it's been a really long time since I've been on the field, and all I want to do is make an impact both on and off the field. So I was kind of nervous at first as if I could still kind of make that impact. And the first time I went on the field actually this season was to hold for an extra point, and I was thinking, oh, like what a lackluster first play back that I'm just out there to hold for an extra point. So I didn't really have much emotion after that, but it was the first punt that I came to the sideline and I just completely broke down. And usually when a punter comes to the sideline after a punt, it's because he just shanked the crap out of it. But I just was overcome with such emotion. And whereas my first punt my freshman year was oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Well, as soon as I stepped on the field, it's almost like everything just made sense. Everything that I
Yeah.
experienced over the last 2 years prior to that event, it all just kind of just clicked and just I just said, all right, like we're back on track, so to speak.
Well, I mean, I'm going to bounce all over the place here,
Please do.
and we have to talk about your family. We have to.
Hmm.
I know we chatted a little bit earlier today about it, but you know, let's just talk. I mean, without them, how do you go through what you went through,
I know.
right? So
And
let's talk about mom, dad. Now you have sisters,
one twin sister, Alessia.
okay? So bring them into the mix. Let's let
Okay.
people learn about them.
So my family is a special group. My dad, Anthony, I have to put out there that I'm not Anthony Pecorella Jr. I have a middle name. He does not. Always something that I have to put out there. My mom, Marissa, and my twin sister, Alessia. I mean, they're my rock. They've always been there for me. My parents have not missed a game ever and traveled all across the country from Minnesota to Michigan to Ohio to North Carolina to Maine,
Yeah,
all over the country, never missed a game. And my sister, we were fortunate enough during my undergrad, she went to Catholic University in DC. So we were exactly 5 miles down the road from each other all 4 years. So she was able to come to all of my home games, a bunch of my
beautiful.
road games throughout my time at Maryland because we were both right down the road from each other. And that was kind of our escape. If we needed to be around family, we always knew that we had each other down the road from one another. But her and I have kind of been partners in crime since since day one. She's marked her contact on my phone as womb mate instead of roommate, womb mate,
Yeah, yeah.
and we've just been built-in best friends. My
Is
dad,
she an athlete too?
yeah, in high school she played soccer. She danced. She danced from I don't know when she was I think 3 or 4 to when she was 18, and then we both did karate together. We both are second-degree black belts.
Really?
Yeah. And what's funny
Wow.
was I only started karate because my sister was already in dance, and my parents were trying to find me something to do on top of the fact that we were playing soccer and basketball and baseball and all that fun stuff. So she signed me up for karate, and I'll never forget. My sister came to watch, just to watch, and was picking me up or something. She has a very the attitude that, well, if he can do it, I can do it type thing.
She kick your butt?
Yeah. Uh, my sister is the sweetest person in the world, unless you get on her bad side. Then she kind of turns into this like psycho killer
Yeah. Yeah.
person that you don't want to be on the other side of. But that she probably gets that from my mom. My mom is the most nurturing, and I guess my perfect vision of like what a woman can, like a strong woman is. Like my mom will not back down from her opinion, as any Sicilian woman won't. So she's kind of, her and my dad are both big role models to me. My dad is a child of immigrants, that my grandparents were off the boat. My grandfather came from Casa Mardigolfo in Sicily. And my grandmother came from Udine. My mom is second generation, so a little bit different upbringings, but similar in a way that faith and family were always kind of at the center of both their upbringings, and they instilled that to my sister and I. And we actually have in our living room, our family motto is faith, family, and then obviously football is at the end of that, just because it's always been a part of my life. My dad played at Hofstra, and then he went on and played semi-professionally for the Brooklyn Mariners and the Marlboro Shamrocks. And a funny story about that. So he is a semi-pro football Hall of Famer, and so he has 8 national championships, 4 with the Brooklyn Mariners, 4 with the Marlboro Shamrocks. And the day I committed to Maryland, I was kind of feeling myself a little bit like first kid in Chaminade high school history to play in the Big Ten for football. Obviously, lacrosse,
Yeah.
they're factory. Um, so I remember I was all excited and stuff, and he walked out of his bedroom with his 8 rings on, and he said, "Yeah, you're not quite there yet." That's just kind of like the tough love that we've always had in our house. So it's definitely made me, I guess, who I am today. My parents were the firm believers that we're going to be your parents. We're not here to be your friends. I mean, now it's more of a friendship type thing. Uh, but when my sister and I were growing up, my parents just always wanted what was best for us. And sometimes as a parent, as you know, that you got to be a little harder
Yeah.
on your kids because you love them, because you want the best for them. And maybe you don't see it. Like, for instance, when my sister and I were young and we didn't want to go to karate class on a Monday night at 6 o'clock, and we'd kicking and screaming, "Oh, I don't want to go. I want to go." And here I am now, a secondary black belt. And it had it been for my parents saying like, "All right, let's go. Like, you got to go." Among other things, that I don't know who I'd be today without that.
And you told me before your dad's flying up to drive home with you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Hmm.
And that's a what, about an 8 hour ride?
Yeah, it's 7. I mean, I think his record is 7:15. I think is his record from door to door. He's
So
pretty competitive.
so he's in a rush.
Yeah. He's always, I
Yeah.
mean, as any New York, as you know, any New York
Yeah.
Jersey guy, you got places to be, you got things to do.
Yeah. And this is a crazy time. The traffic, it might take a little longer.
Where I think we're leaving 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow. So hopefully, I mean, you hit once you get to New York, all
Yeah.
bets are off. It doesn't matter what time it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So let's, I mean, I have 1,000 things in my head to even ask you that's not even on my notes that I took, but let's talk about coming out of high school.
Okay.
Okay. Um, you go to Maryland, Big Ten, which means like you're on the field at Ohio State kicking in front of Penn State, in front of 100,000 people plus, yelling, screaming, going nuts, ready to take your head off.
Mhm.
What was the recruiting I ask everybody the recruiting process. What was that like coming out of high school? Today the world's different. It's all about the bucks. What are
Yep.
they going to give you, pay you, whatever. Wasn't the same then. NIL wasn't really prevalent. What
No,
was it?
not so
What
much
was it
senior
like
year.
coming out of high school, getting recruited to play in a Big Ten school?
So I always say that recruiting is fun when you're in that top 1%. Outside of that top 1%, it's hard. And I say it's hard because you have good days where you have 8 or 9 coaches hitting you up, sending you letters and showing you all the love in the world. And there's other days where you don't hear anything and you're scrolling through social media and this guy committed here, this guy committed there. And I mean, it's definitely hard because you almost feel like you got to sell yourself to these coaches. And
Yeah.
Now being 8 years into the business, you really like kind of understand why you have to do that, because these guys are making a financial investment in you.
Yeah.
It may not seem that way when you're a 17, 18-year-old kid, but these coaches are betting on you so that they can put food on the table for their children and their wife. And so you don't think of that when you're 18, but when you're 24, it kind of all makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
But my recruiting process was, like I said, I had good days and bad days. I was fortunate that I had a couple opportunities to play. One at Fordham, Bucknell, University of Maryland, and then you kind of get like these schools that were there throughout the process, and then they kind of fall out at the end. Like so, I had Wake Forest, I had Duke, Penn State, and a lot of the opportunities I was getting from like those bigger time schools was, oh, you can walk on and
Yeah.
be a part of the team, but you'd have to like pretty much earn your way. Whereas Maryland kind of said, we're going to bring you in as a preferred walk on, which for those that don't know what that is, it's you're not on scholarship, but essentially they're assuming you're going to make the team
Yeah.
and make an impact. And most specialists, at least when I was coming out of high school, unless you were in that top 10, 5, 10%, you were brought in as a preferred walk on and kind of had to earn your job, so to speak, like earn your spot.
Hmm.
And so I was brought on to the University of Maryland as a preferred walk on. Started my freshman year, started my sophomore year. That was COVID, so it didn't count. And started my junior year. And then it was my senior year. We went to a Ravens preseason game, and they announced that I'd gotten put on full scholarship. And
How
that,
sick was that?
uh, and what the coolest part was, everyone mobbing you and celebrating you, and all that was great. But the phone call I got to make to my family afterwards, and tell my dad, like, I got it, like school's on me now. And I've
Yeah.
been fortunate that since then, when I went to Stony Brook, I had a full ride, and now at the University of Maine, I'm on a full ride. But that moment where I got to call my parents and say that I was on full scholarship at a Big Ten Power, now Power Four, it was Power Five, now
Yeah.
Power Four school, was just a surreal moment and one that I'll cherish forever. But the recruiting process, back to what you were asking, I mean, some days were good, some days were bad. It's definitely something I wish I cherished a little more, like taking those visits with my dad, going to camps all across the country, which are all memories I cherish. But I definitely, uh, if I did it all over again, would have kind of took a second to really appreciate it more than I did when I was 16, 17.
Well, I think now, since you've gone through what you've gone through,
Mm-hmm.
it makes you look back and rethink things
Oh, without a
that
doubt.
like an immature 17, 18-year-old young man's not going to think about.
No,
And that analogy that the doctor made, which is just like, in the grocery store, if you're going to pick a cancer off the shelf, that you got the one you wanted.
mm-hmm.
I don't care how
Isn't
good
that
it is.
crazy? As I say, isn't that crazy that I always think about that? Like he really said, well, if you had a chance to pick,
Yeah,
well, I don't want any of them, but I guess,
right. But I guess he's trying to put
yeah,
some encouragement
mm,
somewhere,
no
which
doubt,
I guess if anything, if you're going to have something go wrong with you, you want to have the least probable problem.
no
But
doubt.
I just can't. Can you walk me through that, man? Like
Hmm.
that diagnosis, like you're sitting in the doctor's office, like what the heck is going on in your head?
So the funny thing was, so the tonsil had been there all summer, and I was like, my coaches had known about it. And so when I told them at the end of July that the doctor had recommended I should get it taken out, they were like, okay. I said I was going to miss the first day or two of training camp.
But
And
was it sore or just lump, just
no,
bigger?
so it literally was, it was just like the size of a golf ball in the back of my throat. Had I not yawned in front of the mirror, I wouldn't even have known it was
So
there.
you couldn't feel it, you didn't know it was even there.
No problem swallowing, no problem breathing. Like, no, if I was sitting here talking, I wouldn't even know it was there. So that was kind of like the freaky part of it all.
Yeah,
Because had I not have come home to go to school and I was away, I probably would have just kind of paid no mind to it and just
yeah.
hoped that eventually went away. But so July 20th, they took the tonsil out and they said, give us a week. and we'll call you, good or bad, because just he doesn't like giving results on the phone, which
Was
I
it painful surgery?
so if I would have, they only took out one of my tonsils. If they had taken both out, probably would have been a little worse. But
Yeah,
you go to sleep, wake up, it's gone, and then for a week,
yeah,
mashed potatoes and cream spinach and ice
yeah,
cream.
yeah,
Because it's usually a surgery you do as a kid, because when
yeah.
your tonsils inflame. So they always say when you're an adult, they're a little more hesitant to do that. But obviously, in my
Right.
case, it was just this abnormal
Yeah.
thing, not knowing that it would eventually be cancer. But he brought me in the office, and I went with my mom. And my dad had asked, "Oh, do you want me to come too?" And I said, "No." I go, like at this point, cancer was never something we talked about. Uh, my thought was, oh, it was just like a bad reaction to mono,
Yeah.
or just a really bad sore throat or strep throat. And so I was like, no, just go to work. And I didn't know. I know now, but I didn't know then how worried my parents truly were about it. And I'm sure they were Googling and researching stuff. And uh, so when we went in to meet with the doctor, I'm sitting, like, his desk is here. I'm sitting on the side of it. My mom's sitting in front of the desk, and I'm my usual goofy self, just like, "Oh, hey, Doc, kind of like what's going on?" And he was always very stoic in how he carried himself, and very matter of fact how he sat. So I wasn't, I guess, put off by that and think like, "Oh, like what's wrong?" I just
Yeah.
figured that's just who he was. And he goes, like, he cut right to the chase, and he said, "I have good news and bad news." And so my wise ass self asked for the bad news first. And that's when he said, "You have lymphoma." They hadn't yet diagnosed Burkitt lymphoma. That was done by my oncologist, Dr. Roth, at Cornell a few weeks later. But he said, "You have lymphoma." And when you hear lymphoma, you don't automatically associate it with cancer. You're just like, oh. But then you slowly process it in your brain. You're like, oh, well, lymphoma, cancer, cancer. Oh, like this is serious. And I remember I felt worse for my mom because she's sitting there helplessly.
Did she know right off the bat what that meant?
Yeah. And she's sitting there kind of like almost as she had just seen a ghost.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, what do you like? How do you respond to that? So that's when I asked for the good news. And that's when he gave the whole grocery store analogy. And I remember looking at my mom and I said, whatever I say, I said this to myself, I said, whatever I say next will be forever remembered by myself, my mom, and my doctor. And I look at him and I go, can I go to practice on Tuesday? Like, we got training camp started. And I guess this was kind of the moment that it really hit me, when he said, "I'm not going to tell you no." Because I never tell anybody that they can't do something. He said, "But you should really go home, think this over with your family." And then I'll never forget, he said, when you have to pick your oncologist, and it's almost like marrying them. And at the time I was like, it's just a doctor. Like, what do I need to? But
Yeah.
when you go through something like chemo, like, you really need to be sure who it is you're putting your life is, like, not even just analogy, your literal life in the
In their
hands of
hands.
somebody. And I remember just my mom and I being so shook up, and we got in the car, and so the first, you got to make a phone call. So you make the first phone call was my dad, and he just happened to be walking out of St. Patrick's Cathedral because he went there to say a prayer. God forbid it was bad, and obviously it was. So
Yeah.
thank God he was
Yeah.
there. And he was kind of like the first, I guess, steady hand, as my mom always, like, my mom said that. And he said, "It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Um, like, just let's take today to kind of let this soak in, and then tomorrow we're going to attack it." Because he's a Wall Street guy, 35 plus years. He works in operations, so his mind is very, we got to do this, we got to do
Yeah.
this, we got to do this.
Yeah.
So his mind immediately went to, as did my mom's, all right, what do we got to do? And I, just as a side piece, for anyone that is going through cancer or watching a family member go through cancer, you have to give your family a job, because everybody wants to help in any way, shape, or form. And obviously, there's going to be times where, like, you think you could do it all. I don't need any help, but chemo weighs on you, and you have to be a little more reliant on uh, those around you to kind of not carry you, but kind of shoulder a little bit of your weight. So like for my dad, it was more keeping my weight up, keeping me in physical shape, so that I didn't lose everything during chemo. My mom was more making sure my mental was good, uh, making sure I wasn't getting too down on myself through everything, and just kind of always trying to bring a little bit of positivity. But then I'll bring this back to that day with my sister, because that's outside of my parent. My sister was the hardest person to have to tell, because that's my other half, right? Um, so
Yeah.
we came home from the doctor, and my sister was working from home at the time, and I yelled upstairs. I said, "Les, can you come downstairs?" And she goes, "No, I'm busy." So, like I always laugh because I know when she comes down, she's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
Les, can you please come down? No, Aunt, I'm sorry. I got stuff to do. And my mom comes in. Get your, you know
Yeah.
what, down here. So she comes down in a tude again,
Yep.
because I was like, I thought it was going to be fine. So she just figured it'd be fine. So she
Yeah.
comes downstairs like, what? I go, yeah, you need to sit down. She's like, why? I go, I got to tell you something. She goes, what? And so then I went through the whole thing, and obviously, as we all did, we broke down, and it was
Now,
just
did you tell her or did your parents tell
I
her?
told her. And
Oh my God.
with everyone in our family, I made sure before it was like this public thing, I picked up the phone and called everybody, my friends, my family, because I wanted everyone to hear from me that I'm okay, I'm going to be fine. And this is just another bump in the road, as Dr. Roth and Dr. Kakani called it. And because when you hear cancer, you automatically think the worst. I mean,
Yeah.
that I'll never forget that. The first thing they tell you to do is don't Google. So what did my dad and I do? We Google. The first thing I looked up was chance of survival. And I think it was like
It's pretty high.
60, 70% for, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. And then we met with Dr. Roth. So I was diagnosed on the 26th. It was a Wednesday. It's funny how you don't forget this stuff.
Yeah. Of
Friday
course.
the 28th, we had a Zoom call with Dr. Roth. And obviously in oncology, that's so rare to get in that quick to see someone of that caliber. But funny enough, my dad, a good friend of his from high school, they were in 10th grade accelerated math together. This guy, Robert Mitten. Fast forward 30 years later, he's the director of all physicians at Weill Cornell Medical Center.
Wow.
And so Wednesday night when I got diagnosed, that was my dad's first call. He just said, my son has been diagnosed with this. Um, if you had a 22-year-old son, who would you bring him to get treated? So he calls the head of oncology at Weill Cornell, and that's when the name Lisa Roth first came up. And like you said in the beginning, that you called me a superhero. She is a real life superhero, because she saves lives on a daily basis, and she doesn't do it for the thank yous or anything. As none of the doctors or nurses or anybody I worked with on that floor, none of them wanted any sort of thank you. It's just, to them, it's just another day at the
Yeah.
office. Um,
And for those who don't know, that hospital
mhm.
is probably one of the best in the world.
Yeah, and it's just across the street from Sloan Kettering, which is
Yeah.
obviously the premier
Yep.
cancer. And it's funny, I obviously, when you get sick and you have cancer, everyone just tells you to go to Sloan. And we did our due diligence, and then when you learn is that from an oncology standpoint, everyone at Cornell and everybody at Sloan kind of
Yeah.
all worked together. So it really
Yep.
didn't, I guess, and that where I did the treatment didn't matter, but it was more the people that I wanted to be around. And Dr. Lisa Roth and nurse practitioner Mindy Jaffe and their team, they knew, I guess, the fine line of, well, we got to get this treated and get this done, but also the compassionate side. They didn't look at you as patient 35. They looked at you as Anthony Pecorella, son of Anthony and Marissa's brother of Alessi. Like, they knew who I am, and I'm still very close with a bunch of my nurses and Dr. Roth and nurse practitioner Mindy. We connect on a daily basis. I was fortunate enough that two of my nurses came to my games this year.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and a great story that I always like to share, just because how things work out in life. So my first night nurse was this girl Courtney, uh, and I'll never forget my first night. First night in the hospital for anybody, regardless if it's a broken leg uh,
Yeah.
or cancer. It's nerve wracking to sleep overnight in a hospital. And she came in, and she's this Staten Island Italian college athlete. Like you almost couldn't have scripted it any better
Yeah.
as far as similar mindsets on things. And she walked in, and I remember my mom being so worried leaving me. I'm 22, but she was worried
Yeah.
about leaving me in the hospital overnight.
Well, she's worried about you driving home tomorrow.
And she kind of just put me really at ease from day one, and we grew really close because I did 4 rounds of chemo, and each round was like 5 to 6 days in a row. And majority of those nights, Courtney was my night nurse, and I was on the pediatric floor. We'll kind of get into that whole side of the story, but all the kids are sleeping by 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I got really close with the nurses because they're up. And
Yeah.
what else are you going to do? When you're in between checking on your patients. So they would come in and we would chat because a lot of them were 26, 27,
You're
28,
not much older than you.
not much older. So just kind of like one step ahead of me in life.
Yeah.
And I remember with Courtney, she was talking about her and her wife were trying to get pregnant and have a baby. And now, fast forward 2 years later, after we played New Hampshire the last game of the year, we both don't like them. And
No.
after the game, my nurse Courtney was there with her wife Tahara and their daughter Zara, who's just turned 1 year old. And I remember holding her, and I told her that I'm Uncle Anthony, and like that, my nurse loves it. But it just kind of put it all in perspective of how life always will move on, regardless of like what you're going through. Like that's it's the end all be all that life will move on. But it's nice to kind of see it all work out, I guess,
Yeah.
especially for me, for them. So it was definitely like a full circle moment for myself and my nurse Courtney, because we always used to joke, and I said if she had a boy, she had to name him Anthony. Obviously, that got shot down, but we like Zara. She's this little princess. But yeah, just it's a beautiful story. I always like to share.
That's a great one. How about so when this was diagnosed, you were at Stony Brook,
Correct.
right? So teammates from Maryland, teammates from Stony Brook, how did they handle it?
So the teammates from Maryland were great because I just transferred in. Not that it was kind of, I guess, bad blood when I left, but it's always it's a little, I
Oh,
don't know.
chippy.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
because, oh, why'd you leave and that kind of thing. But everybody from the top down was really, really great about it. They sent me this big card that I still have, and they had everybody in the program from the head coach down to our third string quarterback, whoever it was at the time, all sign the card, all write a message, and they sent me a bunch of Maryland gear and just saying that we're with you and we're here for you. And the guys that I was really close with still will check up on me, and they were among the first people I called when I got sick. But the cool part about the Stony Brook guys is that I was only there. I got there the end of May, early June, so I was only on campus for 2 months, and these guys were there for me. They sent me this like 5 minute long video of them giving me encouragement and stuff, and I was able to go to I think one game that year. We played Delaware, and I remember a bald head, port hanging out of my chest, and I remember how like guys were just like anything they could do, anything they could be there, help me be there, was just really surreal because I'd only known them for 2 months,
Yeah.
and I mean, although I never played it down for Stony Brook, I owe a lot from their athletic director, Sean Hellebron, down because that was kind of the darkest days of my life as far as going through chemo and then the whole recovery process. It was just, I never thought I'd kind of get back to being who I was prior. But it was those guys in that locker room at Stony Brook that really kind of kept me going through those tough days. And I have eternal gratitude to them and to the people at the University of Maryland.
Yeah. I mean, for some way, somehow, someday, the team always pulls through.
Always.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if you're there a week or 5 years.
Well, as you know, I always say the perfect microcosm of any of the world is if you just step foot in a football locker room.
Yeah.
It's 100 guys from all different sorts of backgrounds, all different, I mean, not even just states in America, but countries all over the world.
Yeah.
And we have a guy from the team from Germany, from Ukraine,
Yeah.
from Canada, and all find a way to kind of just mesh.
Yeah.
And I guess why I've been playing for so long, just because it's just such a, I guess, an experience unlike any other. Uh,
Yeah.
of being in a football, obviously it doesn't smell great, but the guys that
But
you're around, you cherish those
it's
friendships.
the I think, I've said this on a bunch of shows, and this has nothing to do with the suffering you had to deal with, right? But from a team perspective, Anthony, it's the joint suffering you go through in the summer,
No doubt,
which is what brings the team together. So when you're in that locker room and that door is shut, it's like you're in your own world, right? Like
no
there's
doubt,
nobody can get in, and there's nobody can interfere, nobody can bug you, and nobody gets it,
no doubt.
right? And
Mhm.
anybody I talk to, I don't care what sport, but you're right, especially football. If you just can't explain the feeling is it of a sanctuary
Mhm.
behind those doors,
No doubt.
you know? And the other feeling you can't explain is when you're on the field and how you feel when you're on the field.
I always say you go into kind of this Zen state
Yeah, it's
in the sport
euphoric.
because
Yeah,
everything that happens, everything that's going on in the world outside of the white lines in that moment does not matter. All that
right.
matters is you and
Yeah,
your 10 best friends playing
yeah,
football together.
yeah. It doesn't exist.
No.
Yeah, anything outside of those white lines, it for that moment, it doesn't exist.
Mm-mm.
You know,
That's
and
crazy. Like you said, you saying euphoric was the perfect way to describe it.
yeah, and people ask me like how do you can you put it in a paragraphical format and description?
No, it's a feeling
No,
like no other.
can't, but you know what I'm talking about. And
Hmm.
if you never played that game, especially at that level,
Hmm.
you just can't explain it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's why you're here with me tonight,
Hmm.
because of that main connection and and seeing your story, I'm like, shit,
Hmm.
I mean, it's crazy. So mental, physical, what's worse? The mental side of what you went through or the physical side?
That's Jeff. That's a great question, and I'm gonna say it's both, but I think that the mental part isn't talked about enough. But I won't say the mental part during, but the mental part after. Like everyone thinks when you ring that bell that everything just goes back to normal.
Yeah.
But in reality, it only gets harder because at least, and it's funny, when I first got diagnosed and met with Dr. Roth and Mindy Jaffe, it was Mindy who said it's going to feel like the longest, shortest time of your life. And I was like, what do you mean by that? She goes, well, every day is going to feel like an eternity. But when you're done, it's going to feel like it just went by in a blink of an eye. And I got diagnosed July 26th, November 29th of that same year, I rang the bell. And when you look at it from a bird's eye view, it's not exactly the longest of times. But each day going through treatments,
It's an
uh,
eternity.
mind-numbing headaches, nausea, losing your hair, you're kind of just, but at least you know that you're working towards something. So now you ring the
Yeah.
bell, and it's like, okay, well now go back into the real world and get your life together.
Yeah.
And I remember going back to Stony Brook, and although I'd obviously lived on my own for 4 years at Maryland, uh, when my parents dropped me off that first time, and I'm still in Long Island, still only an hour apart. Like it was definitely weird because you rely on them for so long, and now it's like, all right, well now I gotta all right, I gotta get back in shape, I gotta uh, get my grades together, and you're just a lot of things going on at once. And I fell victim to it, and I just thought everything would kind of fix itself. But definitely had to do a lot of soul searching from when I got back to Stirrup. That was January of 24, and your body doesn't exactly just bounce back like that. And I was hopeful it did. Like I always say, probably not until March of 2025 this year. I'd say that my body and mind were, I guess, back to normal. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
normal.
They're in sync.
Like everything kind of just was back to flow. Like I felt like I was able to lift as if I did before. I was able to play football. Like everything kind of just made sense. But for that block of time, where everyone isn't checking in on you to say, oh, how you feel, what's going on, when they were during chemo. I always say is the hardest mentally. There's nothing physically harder than going through chemo on a day-to-day basis, especially with my treatment of doing it like one day after another for 5 to 6 days in a row. I'll definitely say the physical was hard, but the mental part was hardest on after when you rang the bell.
So in your video,
Mhm.
the picture of you in the bed, I'm like, holy shit, like, who took that?
The
You
one of
know?
me sleeping.
Yeah.
So I'm such a wise guy. I told I think my sister took it, and I was just so adamant about I want to document everything of this journey. I didn't know what I would do with it, but I just wanted to make sure that I documented everything from this part of my life so that
You're gonna make a movie.
I wanted to document everything so that whenever I got into a part of my life where I was complaining about something that really I didn't need to complain about, I just have to look at a picture of me in that hospital bed or me strapped up to chemo, and everything will kind of just all right, like it's really not that big of a deal. Like we can get through this. If you can
Yeah.
get through this, you can get through that. And I remember my mom just being so mortified every time we took a picture, and my dad every time he'd come to the hospital so practically every day, he would snap a picture of me and send it to like we have a family group chat of like my extended family, and he would just say like, "Aunt, here's Aunt today, doing well. He did his walk. My walk was 20 laps around the hospital floor because my dad's psychotic. They mapped it out, and it's a mile around the hospital floor. So I would do that every day. Um, but the funniest part of all that those pictures, so I lost all my hair, all my
Yeah.
body hair. The only hair I could grow, and it's the only time I could ever do it in my life, was a mustache.
Okay.
And you can't shave while you're going through chemo because I guess your blood vessels are so thin
Yeah,
that
you might
if you
bleed.
cut yourself, you're going to bleed and you have a high chance of infection because you don't have an immune system. So I remember my last round. There's a picture of me, and it's just I'm bald with a mustache. I just look like a kid, like just like a psycho. Um, but I have all those pictures, and I mean, to some people, they like to bury that part of their life and not really talk about it. But I want to kind of use it as, I guess, fuel for me for
Yeah.
hard days, but also for fuel for other people who are either going through cancer or some disease or just even just like a tough day,
Yeah.
and just to kind of help put it all in perspective for
Oof. So let's talk about ringing that bell.
them.
What was that like? I know the crowd was there. Your dad was there.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through it.
So I've obviously never won a Super Bowl. I mean, hopefully I get the chance to win one day. But to best, I guess, sum it up, I always say if that's what holding a Lombardi trophy up feels like, that's the closest thing I think I can guarantee I'll get to it. Just because you work so hard to get to that moment. And I remember those first couple days in the hospital, the bell they had was on the floor. So you could be in getting treatment and hearing someone else ring the bell. And I remember the first round, I felt like very like a little disdainful. And I was like, oh, like why do they get to be done? Why am I sitting here? Like I was almost
Yeah.
a little bit of self-pity.
Well, describe what ringing the bell means. Like, I don't think people know.
So at the end of your chemo journey, they you do scans before, during, and then after your cancer, during your chemo journey, I like to call it. And so they had done the scans after my last round of chemo, and they officially said that I was cancer free. And so to signify your accomplishment of beating cancer, you get to ring a bell. And so this bell hung in the hallway. So all of the treatment rooms in the inpatient part of the office, I mean, not inpatient, outpatient part of the office, can see and hear the bell. And as I was saying before, you almost get a little disdain when you first start. But then when you get to like that round two, round three, it almost becomes like, all right, well, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I could get there. I can get there. I can get there. And when I rang it though, like you've seen the Polar Express
Yeah.
when he rings the bell in his ear and
Yep.
it's, I believe, and it's almost just like that sense of belief, not only to yourself, but to everyone going through cancer or everyone who went through it with you, that like there's going to be an end to all this, like all this hardship and trauma. And there was among the people there, my family, my nurses, my doctors, and was this family. And it's crazy how things work out. But it happened to be that the only patient on the floor was this little girl, Ellie. I'm sure you kind of have a question about her.
Oh yeah, that was my next one.
She was there with her parents, and that's when we got our little picture together because she said as much as the moment was about me, she wanted to make it about her, and so we took the picture together. But um, she was my ride or die through all of my chemo treatments and being on the hospital floor. So as much as it was nice to share with my family and doctors and nurses, it was nice to share with the Delgado family as well.
Right. So let's talk about that hug with your dad.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's easy to talk about, but it
Oh,
got me
without it,
it got me going.
yeah. So I remember I had rang the bell and I did the whole Johnny drama from Entourage victory. And so I was like trying to make myself laugh, but then you're overcome with such emotion and you don't know what else like you have to you start crying. Like you're out of control of your emotions. And I had my hands in my face, so I don't know what's going on around me. And all I feel is like just this big embrace. And my dad's got like paws. I call them paws, like these big hands. And as soon as he put them around me, I knew it was him. And it was just like that embrace in that moment that like he's not the most emotional guy. I mean, as I told you before, I've only ever seen him cry twice. Once when his father passed, and when I rang the bell. And just to share that moment with him was something that uh, will always hold a special place in my heart forever. And I'm so glad that they captured that video, just because
Oh, it's on
as
video.
much
You
as
have it
like I always
forever.
say, as much as I went through it, my family went through it right there with me.
Yeah.
So not only was I ringing the bell for myself, but I was ringing it for all four of us who were there through every appointment, every mind-numbing headache. Um, just it was just such a surreal moment that I'm glad that I got to share that with them.
Wow. It was, I tell you, it's emotional just to watch,
Mhm.
From, as a father, I have three kids and just I just can't imagine your mom and dad and the how strong they had to be throughout that.
It's funny when I first got diagnosed, my dad had told me if he could take it from me and go through it, he would. And
Yep.
I'm sure as any parent would, because the
Yep.
last thing you want to do is ever see your kids suffer. And I just remember like feeling such love. Not that I obviously knew that my parents loved and would kill for me, but um, to say something like that to that magnitude, like I would take this cancer
Yeah.
from you and go through it, really spoke volumes. And yeah,
How are they doing now?
uh, my
All
parents,
jacked up.
yeah. I mean, this year they didn't miss a game. They drove to every home games. They made a 7 hour trip 5 times this year. Like a home game to them this year was when we played Bryant in Rhode Island because that was a 3 hour trip.
Yep.
But they went to Liberty. They went to where else did we go? Maine, Liberty, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Virginia. Did we go down to North Carolina? The season all kind of blends together, but they were jacked up because my parents, as much as they love watching me play, um, they big fans of tailgating. So it was
Yeah.
fun for them to kind of get to do that again and know that we get to tailgate and then go watch our son play. So like I always like my favorite moments, obviously playing, but the moments after the game, we'd come back to the apartment and kind of eat, hang out, and when I was in high school, my dad and I played quarterback in high school. I wasn't just a kicker and a punter. I was a real football player. My dad and I would always sit outside when I was my after my junior my just my junior and senior year. He'd bring out a bottle of wine and we would sit and drink. We'd drink wine and we'd talk about the game. And we'd always say once we were done with the bottle then the game was dead and we would move on, good or bad. And so this year, now that I'm 24, I get to have some better, like I get to have bourbon now. And that was our thing after every game. We would sit and talk about the game. And like, it was just nice after not doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
It was almost like riding a bike again, getting to experience all that again. And in a place like Maine, which you being from Jersey know, like as much as it's really not far away, you never really think like, oh, I'm going to go spend 6 months in Maine.
Yeah.
But
What kind of bourbon you guys
I would,
drinking?
what?
What kind of bourbon you guys drinking?
We drink Woodford Reserve, Bullet, Angel's Envy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our thing.
Cool. So, Ellie, let's talk about her.
My where do I start? I got the best story about Ellie, and it sums up who she is as a person. And I never say was or because I know that she's still here spiritually with us because I just you could just tell. But my first day in the hospital, I was moving in, bringing all my stuff, getting my bed set up, and there's a knock at the door. And I'm turning around, and there's this little 3-year-old girl standing in the doorway. And I'm thinking like, oh, how cute is this? Like she's probably lost. And I was like, can I help you? She's like, hi, I'm Ellie. Who are you? All right, I'm Anthony. It's nice to meet you. Now I'm like, all right, now I'm having
And she's 3.
I'm having a conversation as an adult with a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm the boss of this floor. If you need anything, you come find
Are
me.
you kidding me?
And I go, I'm laughing. I'm thinking like, oh, this is so cute. And so she had her whole care team standing behind her. And I always call them like your Grey's Anatomy group, the guy, like the
Yeah.
group of doctors comes and checks in on you every morning.
Yeah.
And they all have straight face, serious face. I was like, oh, I guess this is her floor. And I was like, okay, like, thank you. And she walks out. And so later in the day, I'm checking out the floor, and they had this game room for the kids, like arcade games,
Yeah.
toys. I go in the room. She goes, too old to be in here. You can't come in here.
A
Three,
little kid, 3-year-old kid.
three, three. So now I remember that night when Courtney came in. I'm like, who is this girl? Like, who is that? Like, I'm almost like, who's this? Who does she think she
Yeah.
is?
Yeah.
And then obviously she can't really get into the whole nitty gritty of it because of HIPAA and stuff like that. But over time, eventually you learn that this was her second round of cancer. She was diagnosed when she was 1 year old, beat it, and then had relapsed. And that's why she was back in the hospital. She's diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And it just so happened to match up that every time I was in the hospital, she was, and both going through chemo. And I always envied her because she really had no idea why she was there. And as far as she knew, it was just to get medicine to feel better.
Yeah.
So she always tried to make the most of things, like playing, like she had this little car, like, when you pedal your feet on the
Yeah.
ground.
Yep.
And she would pedal with her feet, and her mom would follow her with her IV pole because you're hooked up. So her mom would be chasing behind her around the floor. And it always happened to work out that I would go out for my walk with my dad, and she'd come flying out of her room, and we would play bumper cars with my IV pole in her car. Like I would just like try
Yeah.
to bump her car, she'd try to bump me, and the nurses would flip out because that's thousands of dollars of
Yeah.
chemo that we're just bumping into. But we had kind of laughed and had fun with it. And I mean, she made those hard days, I guess, really kind of put in perspective for me that if she can go through it, then why can't I?
Yeah.
And it's the whole just keep swimming mantra that she, I guess, made her the identity of her treatment, that I kind of embodied. And it's kind of become my life's motto now that no matter what you're going through in life, you can always just keep swimming. And the best Ellie story, though, and it's a bit of a tearjerker. So one of my last days in the hospital, Ellie was having a really tough day, Because not only did she do chemo, but she also did radiation. So there'd be days where she couldn't eat after 2 p.m. And how do you tell a 3-year-old, yeah, you can't eat?
Yeah.
And she was in the hospital on the floor with her mom, like sitting on the floor. And Ellie was just sitting there banging her head against the wall. And her mom was sitting there just so defeated because just like how do you tell your 3-year-old like he can't eat? So she's
Yeah.
all cranky, she's banging her head, and she's by the front door to the floor because her dad would work 12-hour shifts and then come see her at night and allow the mom to kind of like close her eyes for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And so my parents were leaving, and my mom said to Ellie, "Do you want me to come back with a gift tomorrow? You want me to come back with a surprise?" And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "What do you want?" She goes, "Surprise me." So my mom leaves, and the next day she shows up with this brown paper bag, and obviously it's not the gift. The gift's inside the brown paper bag, and she hands it to Ellie, and Ellie's like, "Oh, like thank you," like as if you get a gift you don't like because she didn't know
Yeah.
if the gift was in the bag. So she's walking around all day with this brown bag. Didn't know that she
And she
didn't
didn't open it?
have the bag. So eventually my mom goes like, "Hey, like, gift's in the bag," and she pulls out this pink unicorn. It happens that on her shirt is this pink unicorns and find out that she's a big fan of unicorns and blah 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 this whole thing. So that becomes like her toy and her buddy. So then fast forward, I got to ring the bell. Her parents were there for that, and uh, it was just a nice moment to share. And then when I got to Stony Brook, there was a GoFundMe that I saw posted on Instagram for Ellie, and then she wasn't doing well with treatment. And as anyone knows who goes through chemo, it's not exactly the most financially stable of things to experience. So her aunt had started a GoFundMe for them. And I just kind of, like you say, you're trying to find your footing back in the world. I kind of just took that and ran with it and said, I'm going to put all of my mind, heart, and soul into getting this going. And I think we raised in like 2 months, we raised $36,000. Like I had
Wow.
Odell Beckham Jr. reposted it. Like I blew up everybody and anybody just to I feel like because like you said, everyone needs a part. I felt like that was my part. And unfortunately, Ellie passed away on April 20th, April 19th. I'm sorry, 2024. And I remember getting the phone call, and we were in the car on the way up to Boston because the nonprofit I work for, Team Impact, gave me the opportunity to be the keynote speaker at their annual gala. And I remember getting the phone call in the car from my nurse, and I just like it was just a mess. I broke down, and but I knew that Ellie would want me to keep going. That's when I gave the speech the next day. But then fast forwarded, I think like a week or two later, Ellie's service, and uh, I remember like my dad and I went, and because I said there's no chance I'm missing this, and I remember giving her mom and dad a hug, and like they were just so thankful that we came to that, and they said we're gonna come to a game this year, like we're gonna be there. And in that moment, you're kind of like, oh, like that's so sweet of you to think of me at your daughter's funeral wake.
Yeah.
But like you don't really put too much into
Yeah.
it because they just lost their daughter. And so fast forward to this was April, May, and now fast forward to September. It was a cold, wet day. We were playing against Morgan State, and I remember running out of the tunnel. Now my parents always sat in the same seats, so I always would look up for them. And I remember looking up, and I didn't see them. So I'm looking around like, where are they? And I'm looking further down the row, and I see them, and they're all pointing back down the row. I'm like, what the hell are they pointing at? Ellie's dad, Ellie's mom,
Ugh.
her sister, and her two brothers. And I almost like you're on the sideline trying to get all jacked up for a game. I literally could have just broke down and cried
Yeah.
that they said that they were there for me, and that's not even the most heart throbbing part of the story. So after the game, my mom was like, "Oh, Anthony always takes a while after games, like whatever. So you don't think you have to wait around." They said, "No, we made a promise that we were going to be here. We made a promise that we're going to see him after the game." So after the game, I come over. My parents are post gaming because that's just what they did, and they're
Yeah.
eating, drinking. And I walked up and I saw Ellie's parents and giving them a hug. Hey, how are you? Good. We're chatting it up. And Ellie's mom goes, "I have a gift for you."
Mm. Don't tell me it
And
was a brown bag.
no. And she pulls out the pink unicorn.
Ugh.
And around the neck of the unicorn was a bracelet that said JKS, just keep swimming. And then a pin with a picture of Ellie on it on the front. And she said that I think Ellie would want you to have this. And the moment that I was gifted that, it has not left my side. It was with me at Stony Brook. It came here with me to Maine. Um, and that's why I always say I know that she's not far, and she's always a part of me and everything I do. And that's why I send the video that I told her parents, as much as far as my story goes, so does your daughter's, because I would not be here without Ileana Delgado, and I firmly believe that. Um, just because
Wow.
she was a real life rock star at 3 years old, going through chemo with no worry in the world.
Yeah.
This pompous attitude, like I'm the
Yeah.
boss, and just that her parents, even in her name, do a toy drive every year. And as you know, more than me being a parent, like that's just the worst thing you could ever experience as a parent is losing a child.
Ugh.
And they
Yeah.
took that hardship and now they do a toy drive every year in her name. And I am like they hold such a special place in my heart with how they've kind of carried on Ellie's legacy, and it's why I always make sure like anytime we played a game this year and they talk about what a great story Anthony Pecorella beats cancer, they always talk about Ellie, and that's how it always should be.
Now, where do they live?
Brooklyn.
Oh, so they're not far.
Yeah.
Well,
But I mean, obviously, it's hard to get up to a game in Maine, but
oh yeah, yeah. But
hopefully,
it's not far from
hopefully
Long
we get a
Island.
game. Hopefully, we get a game in Long Island next year and get to get to have them out and actually see me play.
Do you
Yeah,
play Stony Brook next year?
the schedule comes out next week. Hopefully, that'd be kind
All
of
right.
cool.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It'd be kind of cool. But yeah, Eliana, and her whole family hold such a special place in my heart. And it's funny that so Ellie has two sisters, two brothers, and the one sister couldn't make it. I think she had a wedding, and they were so like apologetic about it. I said, are you kidding me? Like I'm
Yeah,
not even playing. Like the fact that you guys are just even here is just such a like I don't know, like it's bigger than football.
yeah. It's surreal,
Mhm.
you know. So team impact. I mean, that's going to be with you for the rest of your life.
No
Like
doubt.
that's who you are now. Talk about that.
Mhm.
How, what is it? How does it work? How can people look into it? How can they help? This and what are you doing there?
So, Team Impact is a nonprofit that pairs kids with serious illness and disabilities with college sports teams. They're in I think, their 14th year of existence. Over 800 universities involved. Recently, just partnered with the NCAA. That's where that video came from, and the NCAA trying to share stories and of people like me. So I'm a fellow, and essentially what that means is I'm a rep on the ground for Team Impact at my school. So I've been fortunate that I've been a part of three schools. Maryland had already had Team Impact when I got there, and it's where I got involved. So it was kind of a well-oiled machine. So I kind of plugged and played type thing. But it was when I met this young man, Cal Taylor, who, as I said in the video, diagnosed with JDM, who really kind of put it all in perspective for me of what a beautiful organization this is because it gives kids who are diagnosed with life-threatening illnesses a chance to feel a part of something outside of their diagnosis. They're not just a kid with this, a kid with that. They're a member of the Maryland football team. And I'll never forget when Cal got matched with Maryland, they went on and won three straight bowl games. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say Cal was scoring touchdowns and throwing blocks and all that stuff, but definitely changes the, I guess, culture in the room when you see a young kid going through something like that. Kind of puts it all in
Yeah.
perspective. And then fast forward to Stony Brook. Stony Brook didn't have Team Impact, and I remember getting there my first week before I even got sick, and I told the athletic director, like, I want to bring Team Impact here. And he said, well, what is it? And I explained. He said, I don't know why every university doesn't have that because this is so awesome. So then fast forward, it took, obviously went through chemo and everything. And then we were able, while I was there, we got, I think, 4 or 5 matches on campus, one being football. And that's when I met Milo Nicholson, who's diagnosed with spina bifida. They told him when he was a kid he would never walk, let alone run. And after every kickoff this year and last year, He runs on the field and picks up the kickoff tee every kickoff.
Oh, that's so cool.
The team never misses a game. But we grew close because I wasn't playing. So every game we traveled, we would chat it up, score predictions, players of the game. Like Milo and I were really close. And it's funny that all of these kids just happened. So like Cal, Milo, and then this year at Maine, we had a young man matched with us named Cooper. They're all 14. They're all the same age. Cal, we used matched with us when he was 9. So I've known him for quite a bit. But so Cal and Milo Cooper, who has cerebral palsy, yet another wonderful family and addition to Maine football. And when I got to Maine, team impact had been something they were familiar with, but it's hard, as you know, because Orono's not exactly near anything. So it's
Anything.
hard. It's hard at times to kind of find families in the area that want to be a part of this. But I made it a point to the head coach, Coach Stevens, when I first went on my recruiting trip. I said, well, if you get me, you're getting team impact. Like team impact is a package deal. And he obviously was all in for it, having had a match prior. So to get Coop match with us, and then I think baseball has a match, and women's basketball also has a match. And my goal before I leave here next year is to get everybody matched, because it's just such a beautiful experience that unless you've experienced it, you really don't know what it's like. And as much as it's student athletes impacting young people who are going through hell on a day-to-day basis, it's those young people who really make the bigger impact on student athletes ages 18 to, I mean, I'm 24, but 18 to 22, who kind of
Yep.
feel like they have the whole world figured out. But this kid kind of just puts them in that right frame of mind.
Now, when you say match, what does that mean? They match them up to kids in a hospital? How does that work?
So, so essentially, as a family with a kid who has an illness or disability can go on Team Impact on their website and apply and say that I want to be matched with this team. This is my favorite sports. This is where I live. And then on the other side, the flip side, the school then applies and says, we are ready to have a match. And Team Impact then essentially just plays matchmaker. And so, for instance, at Maryland, we had Cal. So Cal had said, I like football, I like baseball, I like lacrosse. So they'll tell them, okay, well, Maryland, they go back to the family and say, okay, well, Maryland football, Navy lacrosse, and Towson baseball are looking for a match. Which would you like to be a part of? So he says Maryland football. And what Team Impact then does is work with the school, and they set up a leadership committee. So it's like usually like, depending on the size of the team, for football, it's like 3 to 4 guys. And essentially you meet with the match and their family, and the family says, okay, well, we like it. We want to take it a step further. And what happens after that is you become a member of the team. You get a national, like a signing day, you get a national letter of intent.
Oh, that's
Uh,
cool.
Very cool. And it's a 2-year program. So everything from signing day to graduation day is completely up to the team. And they always say, like, oh, we make sure to see the kids at least once a month. It always figures itself out as far as what the routine is. So for Cal, it was every Thursday he'd come to practice, and then he would never miss a home game. That was part of his routine. At Stony Brook, Milo was kind of this, just a complete different case. Our head coach brought him on the road with us, obviously with a parent. He never missed a game. Practices he'd come to throughout fall camp and during the season if he didn't have school. And then with Coop was more, he just wanted to show up on game day. And so everyone always finds their niche, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Like for like girls sports, girls like they go shopping, they get ice
Yeah.
cream. So
They must love it.
oh, it's nothing like it. And these 3 guys are like little brothers to me. Like I've watched Cal more so than Milo and Cooper, just because I've seen Cal when he was 8, 9 years old, and I
Yeah.
knew Cal has an older brother who was going to play college baseball next year. And I remember when he was just a little snot-nosed 13-year-old. So it's cool as much as it's cool for the match. It's also cool for the family because you grow really close with them throughout their time. And like I always like to include the siblings. Like Milo has a younger brother, Cooper has an older brother, and Cal has an older brother. And I always like to include them. I always tell this story. When I was at the University of Maryland, we took Cal to a Maryland men's basketball game, and I remember telling Cal like, "Oh, like we're gonna go hang out with the cheerleaders. Do you want to come?" So he's like, "Yeah, like let's go." But
Mhm.
here's Nolan, his older brother at the time was probably 14, 15. What does he want? He of course he wants to go too.
Yeah.
So I took him over, and he like obviously he ate it up. And then with Maryland football, Maryland with Stony Brook, Milo's younger brother Felix, like as much as Milo got to be on the sideline, so did Felix because you don't want to leave the younger brother left
Yeah.
out. And so it's just something really cool that not only for the match but for the family in entirety.
So who's matched up in Maine?
Cooper Perez is the main football match.
All right. So what's on the agenda for him this year?
So he was came to every game this year. I missed. Well, I'm not ever gonna take that back. He came to every home game. He missed the last home game against Rhode Island because his brother was playing in the Maine high school state championship game, and his brother they won that game. So
All right.
understood why he wasn't there,
Yeah.
but they were there for the UNH game. But just to speak from what his mom has told me, and really what it puts it all in perspective is why Team Impact is such a beautiful organization. So Coop has cerebral palsy, so like when he talks a little slower,
Yeah.
a little more quiet and reserved. But his mom just talked about how much he grew out of his shell just in the last year and how much more confident he is in himself. And Coop plays football. And for those that don't know, in Maine, you play sometimes if your school's not big enough, you play 8-man football.
Yeah.
It was kind of the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. We the whole team we probably got I want to say maybe 40, 50 guys to come to one of Coop's games. They played Orono Middle School.
Yeah.
Whole coaching staff showed up. Coach Stevens and his wife and his kids were there. And his mom was just so blown away and thankful that we showed up for him. And like the guys, like he's there for us. Why can't we on a Tuesday afternoon
Yeah.
take a half hour, an hour out of our time just to go show the same appreciation he showed us? And during the game, I think he made a tackle or like I don't. The play itself doesn't really matter. It was more of the emotion afterwards, and he got
Yeah.
up all excited, and he came to the sideline, and he looked at us, and he was like going like crazy, and like all his friends then see us all going crazy, and they'll give him a pat in the head, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, Coop. So really, just kind of all like I said this a lot, but it puts it all in perspective of
Yeah.
what you can really do as a student athlete,
You change people's lives.
no doubt. And all you got to do is I would say that 15 seconds you spend with that young man to him will feel like an eternity and he'll cherish that forever.
Oh yeah. But Anthony, it goes back to the beginning of you're a superhero.
I'm no superhero.
Yeah, you are. You're a superhero to so many kids, and it's only just beginning. You said you're 24 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of kids you're going to touch going forward for the rest of your life. This is going to be you for the rest of your life, and you're going to be so many kids' superhero, and the story that you have, it's a movie,
Hmm.
you
Maybe
know.
one
So,
day.
no, someone's going to make a movie, and
Maybe one day.
I'm gonna figure out how to find someone to do it. You're gonna have a book, you're gonna have a movie, you're gonna be on Netflix. I mean, it's there in the making. Someone just got to hear it.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured your video that the NCAA did is somebody be knocking on your door by now.
I
But
mean, maybe one day. All part of God's plan, right? So when
yeah.
everything we always say in our family, everything happens for a reason. So everything happens when it's supposed to.
Well, I'm counting on it. Counting on it. So you're feeling good, great shape, everything is cool. You're ready for a new season. What's next year looking like? You guys gonna win the musket or what?
I mean, that's why I'm coming back, right? I can't leave Orono without it.
It's like son of a gun.
Uh,
I mean, you
can't
can
leave
lose every other game but that one.
that one just means a little more.
Yeah. And it's funny how long that tradition's been going.
114 years.
Yeah. I have a
And
picture I'll send to you. My
did you say,
my
did you win
fresh
the musket while you were here?
No,
Ugh.
no. We didn't win anything. We we were 5-6 like every year. We would beat all the bad teams, and then
Yeah.
anybody who was halfway decent would come in and now I don't know if I told you, prior to me getting there, they won the Yankee Conference.
Yeah.
And the
81,
year
right?
after I
81,
left, they won.
82. Oh.
Yeah. The year after I left, they won. So what does that mean? It means I'm in the tween year. You know what that means? So I'm a freshman. That means the sophomores, juniors, and seniors all have a ring.
Yeah.
I graduate, they
And they won.
win.
They won
That
another.
means the juniors, the sophomores and freshmen all have a ring. My one stupid year in the middle, nothing, nothing. So there's 8 years on each side with rings, and there's me with nothing.
Yeah.
But I have a picture, I'll send it to you, of me. It's at home against New Hampshire, tackling somebody. I don't know. I was a defensive back, so it was tackling somebody. I'll shoot it to you. It was in the
Mhm.
what's the school newspaper called?
Uh, I've only been here 3 months, right? So
All right. Yes, I forget. It's the school. And they might not even
I'm
have
still
it anymore,
learning. I'm still learning.
right? But maybe it
Yeah, I
was
was
in the
gonna say.
Bangor.
I mean,
It might have been in the Bangor Daily News, something like that. I don't know. But
yeah,
I'll shoot it to you.
that's
So
awesome. But yeah, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving without that musket. And it's funny when I took my recruiting trip up here. It was January of was it 25? Yeah, January of 2025. And I remember the first thing they showed me was the trophy case where the musket goes, and they said, and I'm thinking like, why do you have an empty trophy case? And that's when Coach Carey kind of explained how,
goes back and forth.
yeah. And I said, I like I it was one of those things that I didn't understand the gravity of the game until you play in it and just the environment of the game. It just feels a little different.
Yeah.
Um, and having been someone who wasn't a part of the team, how many ever months ago. But then once you play in it, there's no other experience like it.
Yeah.
And people could tell you about like similar to what we were saying before about being part of the team. People could tell you about, oh, like this is a big game and it just means more to both teams. You're like, oh, okay. But then unless you play in it, then
Yeah.
you understand.
Yeah. So you're a young guy, 24. You've overcome some unbelievable stuff. You've impacted so many lives, so many young kids. You've changed their lives forever. There's going to come a day, though, where they're going to say, Anthony Pecorella, hmm, I know of that young man. So, what are you hoping to leave behind? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? When people hear your name, how do you want to be remembered?
Not a wise guy. Um, I always like to say if I could just make my small section of the world just a little bit better of a place, then I know I'd be happy. And so my grandfather always had this saying that each generation has to outperform the next. And obviously, he told me this when I was a kid. He passed when I was 16, and I didn't quite get it. But then you think back, and he came to this country with 16 cents in his pocket, and then has 5 kids. My dad was the first to graduate from college in the family, and now he's been on Wall Street for 40 years. And then I'm coming next. So my thing has always been like, what am I going to do to kind of be that, I guess, that next step? And if you would have told me it was what I've been doing now as far as motivational speaking and sharing my story, if you'd have told me, I don't know, when I was in the 5th grade, when I hated public speaking more than anything in this world, I'd have told you were crazy. But I always like to lean back on my faith and say that like God puts us in situations that He knows we will thrive in, even when we don't even think we will. Like
Yeah.
when it comes to speaking, the first time I gave like a public speech was at a St. Baldrick's event in Manhattan, and it was a friend of my dad's who threw this annual event to raise money for St. Baldrick's, and they asked. This was right after I got finished with treatment, and they asked me to come speak, and I remember saying like, well, what am I going to say to these people? And the guy just said, just tell your story because people are going to find something a part of that story because it's so wide. And I mean by wide as far as it's not a football story. At its essence, it's about a guy who plays football, but it really isn't a football story. It's a story about overcoming some of life's hardest
Yes.
hardships and finding a way to, I guess, make lemonade out of lemons, so to speak, and find a way to impact others around you as you go through it, and also learn from those around you. And I'm just so blessed that I get to sit here and tell my story with you and with anyone who lends an ear to listen because you really don't know when all this is going on how this is all going to impact your life, whether positively or negatively. And like I said at the very beginning, I wouldn't wish what I went through on anybody, but the life lessons that I learned, uh, I hope that everyone gets the chance to learn
Wow. Well, Anthony, we covered a lot of stuff. We
them.
talked about coming out of high school. We talked about college. We talked about football. We talked about your illness. We talked about your treatments. We talked about Ellie. We talked about um, team impact. We talked about just keep swimming, and we talked about your family. I mean,
Yeah.
holy crap! You and where you're at. Is there anything else you think we should touch on before we wrap it up?
Um, I think we kind of covered everything. Um, no, no, I think it's. I mean, I'll give my grandmother Nonna Tekla a shout out because I know she'll listen to this, and if I say hello, Tekla, I think she'll get all like excited and happy.
Yeah,
She's the matriarch of the Pecorella family, 90 years old, cancer survivor, lived in an orphanage when she was 9 years old, just after World War II in Austria. Now that's a story for another day,
yeah, oh yeah.
um, but definitely got to give her a shout out.
So if anybody wants to reach out to you to get you to speak on their stage, how do they
Yeah.
get a hold of you?
So I got my Instagram, ant_peck98. Well, probably the best way to do it. I also run a mental health Instagram called Healthy Minds. It has four underscores after it. That's more of like if you got something going on in your life and you just want someone that to listen, you feel free to reach out to me there.
Wow. Well, Anthony, all I can say to you right now is thank you, for taking the time out of your day to share your incredible, incredible journey. And it's only just beginning.
Yeah, that's the crazy part.
Yeah, this is just, you forged the foundation
Mm,
through a lot of tough stuff to create this windfall of miracles going forward. You're a miracle,
mm.
and I'm just gonna. I think I wrote it down 50 times here. I have all these questions. I don't think I asked you any of them. Just because your story just keeps going like this, just
Yeah.
things just coming out. But you're just a superhero. That's it. All I'm gonna keep saying is you are a superhero. As much as you don't believe it, you think everybody else who you touched are superheroes. You are their superhero, and thanks for being on.
Well,
I
thank you
hope,
for having me.
hey, it's my honor. And I got to get up there to a game this year. I'm hoping
Yeah,
that Mike invites me up to do some stuff with the team. We'll see.
yeah.
But
Gotta get a hold of Dr. DeVito.
yeah, and maybe you can put a little pressure on him.
I don't know. I don't know if anybody could put pressure on that man.
No, yeah, he's a big, big dude. But listen, I wish you the best of luck. Love to catch up with you when you're home,
Yes, sir.
and as I tell everybody when we wrap up the show is just stay strong.
Always.